Good day everyone, this is Sir Carlo and welcome back to our mathematics video discussion. So we are now on module 4 of our second quarter. So last meeting we talked about functions and relations in module 3. So we talked about the definition of a relation, its domain and its range, and we also tackled about the different ways in which relation can be represented. So we have here table, ordered pairs, mapping diagram, graph, and rule. So those are the different ways in which we can represent a relation. We also talked about how to identify functions. So if we were given a set of ordered pairs, how can we identify whether that ordered pair is a function or not? We also talked about the different mapping diagrams. We have one-to-one mapping, many-to-one mapping, one-to-many mapping, and we also talked about how to identify whether a given graph is a function or not by doing the vertical line test. And also we talked about how to identify whether a given table is a function or not, and also if a given equation is a function or not. So there are different ways on how to identify whether it is a function or not. And lastly, in module 3, we talked about the dependent and independent variables. Again, what is dependent variable? Muna siya ang magdepende ra sa independent variable. Ang independent variable mao ang maka-stand alone. Kung unsay changes nga mahitabo sa independent, mahitabo pod sa dependent variable. So those were the things that we talked about in our module 3. I hope everything was clear to you. You may also review your module 3 because in this module 4 you are given a summative test. Now let's go to our module 4 for this week, in which we will be talking more about function. So nanata idea unsa ang function, di ba, in sa module 3. So in this module we are expected to determine the domain and range of the given function, define a linear function f of x equals mx plus b, and graph linear functions using the table of values. So muna itong expected outcomes after learning this module. So let's go directly to lesson 1, the domain and range of a function. So if you can remember na atay domain and range pod sa relation. So gani ang domain tanang first coordinate sa atong ordered pair, ang range tanang second coordinates sa atong ordered pairs, or ang domain is tanang x, ang range is tanang y. Now, we also have domain and range of a function. So let's read its definition. Domain of the function is the set of all permissible values of x that give real values for y. In short, tanang values nga pwede nato i-substitute sa x para makuha nato ang value sa y, those are called the domain of the function. And for the range, it is the set of permissible values for y or f of x. Take note class nga if makakita mo ani as f of x, that is just the same with y. So again, what is a domain? Range of the function is the set of permissible values for y or f(x) that give the values of x real numbers. So if ang domain tanang value sa x, ang range tanang value nga pwede nato is substitute sa y or f of x. Again, ang f of x parehar na sa y. So let's go to finding the domain and range of a given graph of a function. So if we will be given a graph like this one, how can we identify its domain and range? So let's take a look at the graph. So we have here our x and y coordinates, then naatay line, na nagslanting diri sa kilid. This is our graph. So yung ano ra siya, wa siya yung mga values. How can we identify the domain and range? So let's check out the solution. As indicated in the graph, arrowheads indicate that the graph of the function extends in both directions. So as we can see sa atong graph, sa atong line, di ba na ay arrowhead. This one and this one. This means that this line extends all the way up and all the way down without limitation. So this extends to infinity. So man meaning sa arrow, meaning dili ra taman ani ang line, it extends. So it extends to the left and right without bound. Meaning way katapusan, sige na siya extend ana. Thus, the domain D of the function is the set of real numbers. Since man daw ang atong graph is na arrowhead and it extends left and right, so our domain is the set of real numbers. Unsa man ang real numbers? Mo ang mga whole numbers, integers, decimals, fractions, those are real numbers. So meaning tanang real numbers pwede na to i-substitute sa atong x. Mo na ang atong domain. Similarly, it extends upward and downward without bound. So di ba pa-upward siya. Ani sa right side padung siya sa ibabaw, ani sa left side padung siya sa ubos. It extends upward and downward without bound. Thus, the range R of function is the set of all real numbers. So, since ni-extend man gyapon siya downward o upward without limitation, so ang atong range is set of real numbers gihapon. So pareha ang atong domain o ang atong range, set of all real numbers, meaning tanang real numbers pwede nato i-substitute sa x o pwede nato i-substitute sa y. So anon pagsuwat ang domain o range in symbol. So we can write it this way. Diba na D equals bracket x, then a line x, then this symbol, then r. Kung saan na siya pagbasa. The domain D of the function, D means domain. The domain D of the function is the set. Basta isud gani na to og ing ani, that means that is a set. The domain D of the function is the set of all x such that, kaning baglis nga nagpataas, that is such that set of all x such that x is an element. Kaning murag e nga nabali, that is an element of the set of real numbers. So kaning r, that is the set of real numbers. So saan ni pagbasa, the domain D of the function is the set of all x such that x is an element of the set of real numbers. So that is how you write the domain. How about the range? Same gihapon. R means range. The range of the function is the set of all y such that y is an element of the set of real numbers. So that is how you write the domain and the range. So let's go to example number 2. Natay ang graph, but as you can see, lahi siya porma sa atong graph number 1. So we have here our x-axis and our y-axis. Then natay graph nga murag letter U nga nabali. So how can we determine its domain and range? As observed in the graph, arrowheads, nagyan po siya arrowheads, diba? So this means that this also extends all the way down without bound. The graph of the function is extended to the left and right without bound. So meaning, ang atong domain gihapon is the set of real numbers. Tanang real numbers gihapon ang atong domain because Na-extend man siya to the left and to the right. Negative and positive. Left and right. Extend siya so that our domain is the set of real numbers. Now, unsa man ang atong range? Di ba ang atong range ari sa ibabaw is set of all real numbers gihapon kay it extends upward and it extends downward. Positive sa ibabaw, negative sa ubos. This one is paubos ra man tanan, downward ra tanan. So this means that our range is any real number less than or equal to 0. Ngano man? Because ang atong graph, tanawa ang atong graph. Look at our graph. Diba, this is the origin, nani ang 0. Then na siya ni nagsugod paubos. Diba, sa atong Cartesian plane, ang nasa ibabaw sa y is positive, ani is positive, ani is negative. So naraman siya sa ubos, so meaning ang atong range is puro negative. That is why our range is any real number less than or equal to 0. Again, because pa-downward man ang atong graph, which is negative ang values. Less than or equal to 0. Kinitungtong man siya sa origin. So how can we write the domain and the range in symbol? Nga ni gihapon, the domain D of the function is the set of all x such that x is an element of the set of real numbers. And for our range, the range of the function is the set of all y such that y is less than or equal to 0. Kaning symbol less than or equal to 0. Note, in determining the range of the function, make sure you look for minimum and maximum values of y. So, unsa mang atong maximum value ani? 0 ang atong maximum. Kay dili man siya pwede mo lapas og 0. Sa 0, jud siya taman mo ng less than or equal to 0. So, that is how you identify the domain and range of a given graph. So, imo rang tan-awon if ang ihabang domain is nag-extend to the left and to the right ug ang ihang range nag-extend ba siya upward and downward, upward ra, downward ra ba, or sa left or sa right. Sa left, negative na tanan, sa right, positive na tanan. So that is how you identify the domain and range of a given graph. Now let's go to finding the domain of a function. So you have tried identifying the domain and range of the graph of the function. What about if you are asked to find the domain of the function itself without its graph? So dili na tataga graph kung saan man nato pagpangita ang domain. When finding the domain, mora ni ang atong i-remember the denominator. Saan ang denominator? Kanang nasa ubos sa isa ka fraction. For example, 1/2. Kaning number 2 mo na ang atong denominator. Then kaning 1 nasa ibabaw man na ang atong numerator. So unsa kuno ang denominator? The denominator of a fraction cannot be 0. Dili pwede 0 ang nasa ubos. Dili pwedeng 3/0. Kay ngano man? If we try to solve this in your calculator, the result will be undefined. So dili pwede nga ma-0 ang denominator. So in the event nga 0 ang denominator, so dili nato makita ang domain sa function. So dapat dili 0 ang denominator. And then the number under a square root sign must be positive. Kailan mo square root sign? Ngani ang porma sa square root sign. So ang number nga nasa sud sa square root sign should not be negative, dili negative. kailangan positive ang tanang sulod sa square root sign. So let's have here some examples. So we are given this function f of x equals 3x. Again ha, kaning f of x same na sa y equals 3x. F of x equals 3x. So unsa man ang domain ani? So di ba ang ato rang i-remember is the denominator of a fraction cannot be 0. So this is not a fraction man. So pasok ang number 1. The number under a square root must be positive. Wala man po ni gisud og square root sign. So pwede na to ni mapangitaan og domain. In f of x equals 3x, there is no value of x that makes the function undefined. Thus, the domain of f of x equals 3x is the set of real numbers, or this one, ingani nga symbol, ingani nga pagkasuwat. So meaning, tanang real number, pwede na to i-substitute sa x. Bisan pag negative, bisan pag positive, whole number, or fraction, pwede na to i-substitute sa x. So, mo na ang atong domain, the set of real numbers. How about number 2? F of x equals square root of x minus 2. So again, unsa ganito kung naay square root sign, the number under a square root sign must be positive. So kailangan, kung inig-substitute na to sa x, kung unsa i-substitute na to sa x, kailangan ang answer is positive, dili negative. So in f of x equals square root of x minus 2, the value x minus 2 must be positive since it is under a square root sign. So we must substitute the value of x with a number which will make x minus 2 positive. So examples of these values of x are 2, 2.5, 3, 3.7, 4, and 5. Diba kay? Kung 2 atong ibutangan ni 2, ang x mahimong 2. 2 minus 2, ay mahimo siyang 0. So square root of 0. O 3, ang x mahimong 3. 3 minus 2 equals 1. Positive 1. Square root of positive 1. And so on. However, x equals 1 cannot be. Kay kung ang x gamo na tong 1, mahimo siyang 1 minus 2 na may answer, negative 1. So, dili pwede ang 1. Dili pwede na to substitutan og 1 ang x kay mahimong man siyang negative. So, unsa man ang atong domain? The domain of the function x is greater than or equal to 2. So, sa 2 na magsugod, mas pwede 2 or higher kaysa sa 2, dili ang 1. Mura na ang atong domain. So, ingani ang symbol. The set of x such that x is greater than or equal to 2. Then number 3, the fraction f of x equals x plus 1 over x. So sa titimanan na to basta fraction, the denominator of a fraction cannot be 0. So this is very easy. The denominator x must not be equal to 0. So bisan unsa pwede ibutang nato ani nga x sa ubos except sa 0. So x is not equal to 0. Thus, the domain of the function is the set of real numbers except 0. Or x such that x is an element of the set of real numbers and x should not be equal to 0. So ngadto ra pagpangita sa domain if functions ang given dili graph. So kanilang duha inyong timan-an. This one. I hope everything is clear. Then we have here a practice activity. You may answer this one. Sa inyong papel, find the domain and range of the graph below. Sa tutiman-an basta pangitaon ang domain and range given ang graph. And then determine the domain of this function. Now let's go to lesson 2, definition of a linear function. Unsa man ang linear function? Linear function is a function of first degree. Unsa man ang first degree? Ang pinakadako nga exponent sa atong function should only be 1. Kung may exponent nga 2 or 3 or 4, dili na siya linear function. A linear function should have a first degree. 1 ra jud ang exponent. In the form f of x equals mx plus b or y equals mx plus b. I'm sure familiar mo ani nga equation. Y equals mx plus b. Or f of x equals mx plus b, where m and b are real numbers. Kailangan ng m ug b real numbers. Its graph is a line with slope m and y-intercept b. So mo na ay linear, mo na definition sa linear function. Degree of a function is the highest exponent of x that occurs in the function. So kailangan kung linear function, kailangan ang exponent sa x should only be 1. Kung walay nakabutang nga exponent, automatic ang exponent ana kay 1. So nay invisible nga 1 ani. Then kung naay 2 ani, 3 or 4, mo nay degree of a function. Kung unsa ang pinakadako nga exponent, mo nay gitawag og degree of a function. Slope of a line refers to the steepness of a line. It can be solved using this formula. Y equals rise over run, or y equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So may formula unsa na to pagpangita sa slope. So let us try to determine whether each is a linear function or not. So natay given nga mga function. Atong i-determine if linear ba ni sila or not. So let's have here number 1. F of x equals 2x plus 3. Is it a linear function? Yes. Nganong yes man? First na tutanawon is, naba siya sa form nga f of x equals mx plus b. So f of x equals mx plus b, wherein ang m ug b should be real numbers. So kaning 2 mo'y atong m, kaning 3 mo'y atong b. So pasok siya. And first degree, meaning 1 ang exponent sa x. O man siya nakabutang nga exponent, so automatically 1 ang exponent ani. Mo nang linear function siya. This is a linear function. What is the degree of the function? Sa iyahang exponent, pinakadako nga exponent sa x, 1. Okay, wa man siya nakaswat ani nga laing exponent, so automatically 1 ang iyang exponent. Slope. Unsa iyang slope? Unsa gani ang porma sa atong linear function? F of x equals mx plus b. Ang m ani, ang m mo na ang atong slope. So asa man ang atong m? Ang atong m kay kanimang 2, di ba? So 2 is our slope. And our y-intercept b is 3. Okay. Y equals mx plus b man, b. So this is our b. So our y-intercept b is 3. So nga na pag-determine sa given. How about number 2? Simple ra siya nga equation. F of x equals negative x. So is this a linear function or not? Yes. So nganong yes man nga dili man na siya pormang f of x equals mx plus b. Porma gihapon ni nga f of x equals mx plus b. Kay ngano man? This is our given equation. f of x equals negative x. Kaya po niyo siyang f of x equals mx di mo gana itong ballpen. This is still equals plus b because negative x. So na ay negative 1 ani. 'Di ba kung na ay 1 is dili naman nato isuwat. So this is negative 1x. So ang atong m negative 1. Mx plus b. Unsa man ang atong plus b? That is just plus 0. So this is negative 1x plus 0. And since plus 0 man siya, plus 0, pwede na siya nga dili na isuwat. So, mo ni ang forma sa atong equation. Mx plus b. So f of x, linear function naman siya if it is in the form f of x equals mx plus b. So our given is still in this form. So ang atong m is negative 1 x plus b. Ang atong plus b is just plus 0. Then ang atong degree is still 1. Kaya ang exponent sa atong x kay 1 raman. Kaya wa man siya laing exponent nga nakabutang, so that our exponent for this is automatically 1. So this is a linear function. The degree of the function is 1 since the exponent of the variable x is 1. Kung sa atong slope m, ang atong slope m is negative 1. Then ang atong y-intercept b is 0. Next example, f of x equals 2x plus 4. Is it a linear function? Yes, gihapon, because this equation can be simplified. Di ba pwede nato ni i-solve? Pwede nato ni siya i-simplify. Ito siyang i-erase. So this is just equal to, kaning 2 is atong i-distribute sa nasa parentheses. So 2 times x, mahimo ng 2x, and 2 times 4 is positive 8. So napurma ra gyapon siyang f of x equals mx plus b. Then ang atong degree of the function is still 1. Kay wala may exponent lain nga nakabutang, so that ang atong exponent is automatically 1. So this is a linear function. The exponent of the variable x is 1, so our degree is 1, and our slope m, sa may natunong sa m, mx plus b, 2x plus 8. So ang atong m or slope is 2. Ang atong y-intercept b is 8. Number 4, f of x equals x squared plus 5x plus 4. Is this a linear function or not? No. Kay naa na siya 2 nga exponent. Ang ato namang gipangita is dapat 1 ra ang exponent. So since na naman tayo 2 nga exponent dayon, so that automatically makes this not a linear function. So the degree of the function is 2. Na ba siya slope m? Wala siya slope because dili man siya f of x equals mx plus b. Diba? Duha naman iyang x. Tulo na sila kakuan. So, wala siya slope o wala siya y-intercept b. Same with number 5. F of x is negative 4. Nganong dili man siya linear function? Kay dili man siya porma nga f of x equals mx plus b. Unlike ari sa number 2, na porma gyapon siyang f of x equals mx plus b because ang given is f of x equals negative x. Naaman siya variable nga x. Nga giplasan ra og 0. Here, whole number na ni siya. Negative 4 man dayon, wala tay x. So, dili na to siya maporma nga f of x equals mx plus b. So, this is not a linear function. Then, ang atong degree is 0. Kay wa may x. Wala may x nga naay exponent. So, ang atong degree is 0. Then, wala siya slope o wala siya y-intercept. So this is how you determine whether a given function is a linear function or not. Then you have here practice exercises. You may answer this para ma-practice mo og identify a linear function. And let's go to our last lesson, graphing linear functions using the table of values. So ani nga lesson mag-graph na pagta class. The function can be graphed using the table of values of x and y. So let's have here an example. Determine the values of the function f of x equals 3x plus 1 at gigaan tadaan og values sa x. X equals negative 1, x equals 0, and x equals 1. Identify the ordered pairs, create the table of values from the ordered pairs, and graph. So let's have the solution. On the equation f of x equals 3x plus 1, substitute the value of x. So diba gitaga naman tag value sa x nga. X equals negative 1, x equals 0, and x equals 1. Kaning tanang value sa x, atong i-substitute sa atong function. So unahon na to ang x equals negative 1. So f of x equals 3x plus 1. So, f of x equals 3. Ang x mahimong negative 1 plus 1. Then, ato na siyang i-simplify. 3 times negative 1 is equal to negative 3. Then, copy plus 1. Then, negative 3 plus 1 equals negative 2. So, muna ni ang atong ordered pairs. Ang x na to is negative 1. Then, ang atong nakita nga y is negative 2. Kaya diba ang f of x is just the same with y. So we have our first ordered pair, negative 1 and negative 2. Same with x equals 0. Ang x gamo na po natong 0. Same gihapon nga function. So f of x equals 3x plus 1. Then ang x mahimong 0. 3 times 0 plus 1. 3 times 0, mahimo siyang 0 plus 1. So f of x equals 1. So we have here x na to is 0, then y is 1. So manay atong second ordered pair. And our third ordered pair, x equals 1. Same gihapon ang buhaton, mo gihapon nga function ang gamiton, then ang x gamon natong 1. f of x equals 3x plus 1, f of x equals 3, ang x mahimong 1, so 3 times 1 plus 1. f of x equals 3 times 1 equals 3 plus 1 equals 4. So this is our third ordered pair. X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 4. So nanatay tulo ka ordered pair. Negative 1 and negative 2, 0 and 1, 1 and 4. So kani nga ordered pairs, mo'y atong ibutang sa table of values. So first, ani nga first column, x and y. Then tanang x atong ibutang ani. Diba mo na itong mga x, negative 1, 0, and 1. Then ang mga y ari sa ubos, -2, 1, and 4. So nanatay table of values. From this table of value, we can now create our graph. So natay Cartesian plane with our x and y axis. So unahon na to ang kaning ordered pair. Ang x is -1, ang y is -2. So ari taon na mangita sa x. X is -1. So naari sa left kani. Then ang y is -2. So naa sa ubos kani. Then asa man sila mag-meet? Ani nga point. So that is our first point, -1 and -2. Next ordered pair, 0 and 1. Ang atong x kay 0, ang atong y kay 1. So ang atong x kay 0, so naani sa origin. Then ang atong y is +1, so nasa ibabaw. So ani sila mag-meet. So this is our second point, 0 and 1. And our last point, atong last ordered pair, 1 and 4. Ang x kay 1, ang y kay 4. So ani na pud ta mangita sa x, +1 man, so ari sa right. So this is ani ang +1. And sa atong y is +4, so nasa ibabaw. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then asa man sila mag-meet? Ani nga point. So after plotting our 3 points, ato na siyang i-connect in a line. Then you put arrowheads. So this is how you make a graph of the function. Very easy. First, you just have to substitute the given values of the x to the function hantod nga makakita ka og ordered pairs. Then you put the ordered pairs in the table of values, and then from the table of values you create a graph. Very easy. Then we have here practice activities. So you answer this one, you may answer this one para ma-practice mo on pag-graph. And then you have your assessment. This is a very important activity because this is recorded and graded, so you answer this carefully. You review all the lessons from Module 4 so that you can answer this one. And you also have your second performance task. Ano ba itong performance task? Dara. So this is your performance task number 2, secret message to prevent COVID-19. So decode the secret message by identifying the function among the relations in each item. Write the letter of your answer on the box below. So in every item, magpili ra mo ani kung asa ani nila ang function. So number 1, asa nga graph ani ang function. Number 2, asa nga ordered pair ang function. Number 3, asa nga table ang function. Number 4, asa nga ordered pair ang function. Number 5, asa nga mapping diagram ang function. Number 6, asa nga table ang function. So, ang inyong mapili nga function, piliin nyo ang unsa nga letter. Then, ang letter, inyo isuwat diri sa box para mabuo ninyo ang secret message. So this is very easy. You review Module 3 and Module 4 on how to identify a function para mapili ninyong tarong kung unsa ani ang function and ma-decode ninyo ang secret message. And you also have your summative assessment for weeks 3 and 4. So you review Module 3 and Module 4 so that you can answer this summative assessment. This is recorded and graded. So you have to answer them carefully. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to message me, contact me, and ask me questions, and I will help you willingly. So I guess that's it for today's video discussion. I hope you learned from this discussion, and I hope that you will answer your activities on time and truthfully. Thank you for listening, and God bless.